Hi and good morning. Today I wanted to do a video on limited palettes. You've told me on Facebook and Instagram that a lot of you enjoy working with limited palettes, especially when you're confused still about colors. So I wanted to start with a palette that I've been using this year for a couple of projects using Phthalo blue and burnt sienna. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix several ratios and I'm going to make a color palette so you can see the variety of colors that you can create with these two colors and white. Just one side note, this is Phthalo blue. There are a couple of shades. There is a green shade, a red shade. What you can do is you can look at the pigment number and see which one you have or which one you want to buy, because they're very different from each other. Okay, so what I'm using here is PB15. I put it in the comments below so you can check. And my burnt sienna is PR101. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix these individually with white, and I'm going to create two columns, and then I'm going to do 4 rows mixing these together with white. I'm going to speed up the mixing part a little bit so this doesn't get too long. Right, so that's column number 1, burnt sienna. You can go lighter if you want, you can go all the way down, but I'm going to leave it at this. And the most noticeable thing with burnt sienna is that it's quite a transparent color straight out of the tube. It's great for glazing and stuff like that, but when you add white it becomes more opaque. Maybe with a little bit of tinkering here and there, you can do a lot with skin tones with this color. So let's do the same thing for the blue row. Alright, so this is Phthalo blue. It's one of those blues that make you go wow, right? It reminds me of, I don't know, vacations that one day I'm gonna take. So it's a great color. It's a very strong pigment. You only need really a little bit of it. Also in your mixes, so you're gonna be seeing me do that here, using a lot less Phthalo blue than I use burnt sienna. So I'm going to do the mixes here, and I'm going to start with a little bit of Phthalo blue in the burnt sienna and then add more as we move down. Alright, so this is the first row, and you can see that the blue, it not only made the burnt sienna darker, but it toned it down. Okay, so it's less vibrant and less saturated. than its original color. And then when you add white, what you get is some very nice earthy tones that, you know, I can see myself using this range in a lot of portraits. So let's add a little bit more blue and move on to the next row. So this is our second row, and the initial mix, you saw me do it here. I didn't use enough burnt sienna, not the same amount as I did in the previous row, so I had to add more burnt sienna back in after I mixed the blue. Sometimes it can be difficult to see what exactly your darker mix is doing, and then I recommend that you mix a little bit with white and see where you're at in terms of color. I didn't want to go to the blue too quickly. So what this mix is essentially is sort of a moss green, yeah, a warm green, that when you add white becomes, you know, one of those soft like baby greens, right? I can see myself put this on a wall. And I like using this range of color as a background, and I did that in some of my previous paintings. So yeah, this is a great color, and it's also the first time I started mixing these, I was actually surprised that they end up being green, because in my head this was a red and this was a blue, and I expected some kind of purple. But there's no way you're going to get any purple out of this. So let's see what happens if we add more blue and mix the third row. Alright, so this is the third row, and you can see that it becomes almost a sort of an emerald color, and especially on this end, I think it would be interesting to see if it will work as a colder highlight, but also this mix in the shadows would be very interesting. So let's do the fourth row, which is obviously going to be a lot bluer than this one. I mix that last row and see what we end up with. So this is the last row that we mixed, and yeah, it reminds me of waters on the coast of Italy. You know, those oceans with colors that you didn't even know that water could have that kind of color. It's yeah, that's what it reminds me of. In terms of paint colors, there is very little in here that you cannot mix with red, blue, and yellow in the standard palette that we're used to. But the reason why I work with two color limited palettes is because when you start out with mixing colors, it can be confusing, it can be a little scary and intimidating. And starting with two colors, a warm one and a colder one, allows you to explore these ranges, going from warm to cold, see what's in between, and see what it does when, for instance, you mix this with this, or this with this, and work with that. And the more you work with that, the more confidence you gain, and the easier it becomes to add a third color, such as a yellow or a red, and all of a sudden you're working with an extended palette. Okay, so yeah, the other reason why I work a lot with this is because sometimes I just don't want to worry about extended palettes. You just want to paint and you want to keep it simple, and maybe in the end you can add a third or a fourth color, but starting out with a foundation of two colors and white can be a very relaxing way to start a project. And for the more experienced painters, it can also be a challenge to limit yourself to two colors instead of breaking out all the paints that you normally use. So whatever your reasons, whatever your level at this moment, working with this palette will bring you something, and will give you something. And you can choose any cold, any warm color that you like. And I'm going to make more videos on some possible combinations that you can choose and the results in a grid like this. And I hope to do some more projects with these limited palettes that I'm creating, so I can show you how you can distribute these colors within a project. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions regarding colors that you would like to see mixed, let me know. And I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. These are stressful times. So if you need to talk or vent, you know where to find me on Facebook or in the art communities. So again, I hope you have a great week. Keep on painting, keep on sharing your work, and tag me. And I love you guys. Bye-bye.